This is Shant'e Ragin, and today I am speaking with Gene Wills. Gene, Kevin and I met you in 2018, and it had to be somewhere between January and March because we were at the Newton County Library researching for the Porterdale History Tour. You guys, it was you, Monica Dara, and a few others. You saw us there in the library and you just kind of walked up on us and asked us, "What are you guys doing?" And we told you what we were doing. And right then and there, you let us know that you were working on the removal of the Confederate statue. And that was in 2018. How long have you been working to have the Confederate monument removed?
I believe I started in the summer of 2017. I had thought I started earlier, but it was 2017, and I started going to the board of commissioners to ask about the Confederate statue. Also, give them some history about why they were put up.
Okay, so this is not something that you have just jumped on board. This is something that you have been working on for several years now.
Yes, along with friends in East Metro for social justice, we had a Teo Ramaker, uh, Sonia Banks, Monica, as you know, Monica Dara, and Julie Hearns was there, and everyone was interested in what we could do to get the county to relocate the statue.
So tell me, what does the statue represent, and what does having the statue removed mean? What would that say to have it removed?
One, the statue represents white supremacy. It was put up after the riots in Atlanta, and it was a signal that the black people down here in Covington better not act up. They had segregation down here. They had one school, from what I understand, and if you had to walk 5, 10 miles and you passed a dozen schools, you only could go to the one. So the white supremacy is a cloak that suppresses a group of people, including me. So it's a difficult thing to deal with. Your other part of the question was it will make things better in a sense because that cloak is slowly being removed, and and I think it goes back to us all being human beings, and we got to remove this color thing, this race. It's a made up construct by a guy who wasn't even a scientist, and as people came from Europe and in European countries, they gradually got into this white thing that they all become one big group, white, and the government supported it. Systematic racism, well, go back to slavery, Jim Crow, and the banks, any institution in the United States pretty much supports this white supremacy, maybe unknowingly, but they support it. It's like if you go in to get a loan at a bank, um, it's harder for a black person, and you're going to get um, not a good deal in borrowing or getting a car, and because I guess it's a history of them believing we don't pay our bills or the stereotypes people really believe. So moving the cloak of racism, and we're moving towards equality.
I hear you saying that the removal of the statue means that the symbol that black people are not equal to white people, that we're less than or inferior to in some way or another, removing the statue will another step in the right direction to changing that belief. Am I understanding you correctly?
Yes, that's correct. Removing that statue is removing the cloak of racism slowly, but we're doing that, and we're going to continue on. And we gotta vote and vote people we know in the office, and we can gain a lot of equality through the system. We don't need to make a new one. We need to understand the one we have and understand that, and for example, the city manager hires the chief police in Covington. Now, if you're not happy with the chief of police in Covington, well, it's on the city manager to fix whatever's going wrong. We got to understand we got to vote the right city manager in Covington, and that city manager hires the chief of police. So we need to become more active in our community. We pay taxes. We need to have things that are helpful to us. I'm not saying get more than anybody else. Helpful to everyone. So I guess that's how I feel.
Okay, it's interesting that we talk about white supremacy, that we talk about racism. The last time I spoke with you, the group that you are involved in, East Metro for Social Justice, tell me about the racial makeup of the group today.
Okay, it's basically three black people who comes regularly. Sonia Banks, Darian Reed, and myself. Um, Darren Reed is out of town a lot because he is working for a candidate in North Carolina. But Sonia regularly participates, and we are it's two black people, and I'll say about 8 to 10 white people, and we work as a team. We have work to get past the veil where people when I walk in, I'm not the black guy, and it's always awkward because when I come into a meeting, everyone's standing up greeting me like I'm a celebrity, and it's like, hey, I'm just one of you. So I'm here to see what you guys are about as far as these metro, and we need to not patronize people in a sense that you trying to be nice. Don't try so hard.
I can certainly understand that. So this is not a racial thing. It's not a group of black people who just want the statue down. These are this is a multicultural organization that's working together. You along with other white people are working together to have the statue removed. And not only East Metro Social Justice, but white people outside of the organization are also working. I just want to make sure that we're clear that this is not black versus white.
Yes, the other group who are pro Confederate statue, they want to make it black and white, but it's not. It's just right and wrong. Um, they said the Civil War is about state taxes and um, and state rights. Uh, the taxes part was resolved in around 1847, and state rights is the only problem. They wanted to have the right to have slaves, and they looked at the Republican Party as an anti-slave party, and they in South Carolina, number one said that if a Republican becomes president, we're going to secede, and so it began led to the Civil War.
Hmm. So it's important, I know to me, when I'm talking to somebody, to have an understanding of who they are, where they've come from, and what that cultural background is for them in order to better understand their perspective on things. So would you please tell us, where are you from? Where were you born? And lead us into that path of you coming to Georgia, because I understand that you weren't born here.
That's correct. I, I was born in a small town. The name of that town is Aliquippa, Pennsylvania. It's about 25 miles west of Pittsburgh, and it was a steel mill town. So everyone works in the steel mill. It was understood when you went to school that eventually you're gonna end up in the steel mill. They paid good money. Even back in the 70s, they were making over 16 an hour. People were buying new cars, buying homes, and everything was great. But the steel mill shut down, and that's what turned my town around. But when I grew up, it was vibrant, and uh, and I always had a curiosity of why things were the way they are. Even as a child, I remember riding. We had to catch the bus. I lived in projects, and the bus would come and park early. We had a little space for it, like a dead end street kind of, and we would get on the bus. And in the black community, it was mainly quiet, and we get on, and we start riding. And I was bused to a white school, Hopewell High School, and we would ride. And as we rode and we got to the white community, you see all the hustle bustle, you see all the cars, and we ride through the community. You see that they own homes, and I'm like, and I always thought like, wait, my father works at the same place they work. How come we live in the projects? Why can't we buy a home? And thoughts like that always cross my mind. Just growing up, and trying to understand what's going on. Uh, I grew up, like I said, I went to a white school and had white friends and enjoyed that experience. And sometimes it was ugly. I had a history teacher, ninth grade, who pointed out that black people haven't contributed to this country. The only contribution is slavery, and they should be happy to be here and not in Africa. So it hurts, and people don't understand that it hurts when you frame things incorrectly. And they want to say, okay, all the Africans sold the slaves to the Europeans. So that's also hurtful because they try to set black against black. But I grew up in the projects, Aliquippa, Pennsylvania. I grew up curious about the world. I had a friend, Mallory Gober. He lives in Pittsburgh, and we would visit him often. And I did have a police encounter in Pittsburgh. We went to see Mallory. We hung out till about 10 or 11, and we headed home. And I had to catch a trolley, a streetcar basically, and then catch the bus to get home. And while we was waiting for the bus, a police wagon came up, and they told me and my friend, his name was Willie. I'll be candid. They told me and Willie to get in, and I looked at him. I said, "Get in for what? Are you taking us home?" And he said, "You know what you did." I said, "No, all I did was come here to wait for the bus." And well, we had an armed robbery around the corner. We need for that person at the Army and Navy store to look at you and make and see if you were the people or you guys robbed them at gunpoint. And I told him I never had a gun, never seen a gun in my life, but it didn't matter. So they put us in a paddy wagon. They had a German Shepherd sitting right between us, and if you make any slight move, that dog start growling. They took us to the Army and Navy store, and it was a white guy with real thick glasses. He looked at us for um, I'll say 15, 20 minutes, and finally he said, "It's not them." And the cops was like, "Are you sure? Take another look." Like, you could be innocent, but it doesn't matter. Locking up a black person, really, your life don't matter. You're not going to contribute to this country. So the earlier we put you away, the safer we feel. That's the kind of feeling I got. Um, and growing up in Pennsylvania, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed meeting people and all the things you do as a young man while growing up. As far as my background on my mother and father, my father had a sixth grade education, and my mother graduated high school But her background was very troubling because her mother died shortly after my mother was born, and their father was alcoholic, and he was basically never home. And the older sister was 8, Henrietta Carter, and Henrietta was the one who was in charge of getting them food and things. And she would tell me at first she was just getting candy, and then someone noticed that they were buying candy because the father give them a few dollars or something to get food. And someone told me you need to eat food, and they start buying pork and beans and wieners, and they ate that. And she said they didn't have a stove; they ate it cold. Eventually, they were put in foster care. Um, it was a horrible experience. It drew my mother and her siblings really close together. They would like the same thing for all our cousins, first cousins, and brothers and sisters, but it's hard today. But it was worse back then. But the conditions draw you really close together, and so eventually, my uncle Boise, he got a job at the steel mill. He was able to get a place, and they all were able to get out of foster care. Um, but my mother had siblings, Corbell, Hollins, Boise Harvey, Henry Harvey, uh, Henrietta Harvey, and she had a half sister, Geneva. But they were tight. And I mean, no matter what, they could say something awful to each other, but they always came back together. Just they would just love each other in a way that is hard to do today.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, speaking about all of the Harveys, tell us about your nickname, Bunt Harvey. Talk about where you got the nickname from and how you wind up being known today by some as Bunt Harvey.
Yes, when I was about, I'd say 6, 7, somewhere around that time, we were playing baseball, and me and my friends, it could have been 12 of us. We were out there playing, having fun. And then as we got done, we walked up to the parking lot, and this older guy, last name is Washington. He's the nickname guy, and I was pretty much new to the community, to the projects. And they said, "Well, give him a nickname." And he said, he's the shortest out of all you guys, and he likes to play baseball. We're gonna call him Bunt. And I didn't like it, but it grew on me. And due to the fact that I was bused out of my community, the black community, to a white school, all the black people in Aliquippa only know me as Bunt because I never really been in a classroom with them to hear my real name. So it's Bunt and the last name Harvey. The Harvey has always been the staple point in my life far as siblings because my mother and her siblings were so close. We always took pride in being Harveys, and every one of us, and we still hold on to that. And we know the horrors of the past. I had a great grandfather who was lynched because his overseer wanted to be with his wife. Because previously, this was after that grandfather was a slave, and he was sleeping with his wife. And the curious thing about that is that we have some really light skinned Harveys, straight hair, curly hair Harveys that after they lynched my grandfather because he fought the overseer, and I guess he may have had kids with my great grandmother. So there's like when I go home, there's a group of Harveys that are really fair skinned.
That serves as proof that that story about your grandfather is true, and that in fact there are some multiracial, mixed racial Harveys out there due to the fact that back in slavery, that in fact there was some interracial mingling in the family, which is why your grandfather died subsequently. I just want to
Yeah,
make sure I understood you correct.
yes, and he had 6 sons, and they pretty much scattered because once they kill one person, they, the mob, the angry white mob, looks for other people to kill, and it's just, and they don't go after the poor ones. They go because my Thomas Harvey, my great 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 grandfather, I believe he had a house and some land. So it's always a amount of jealousy anytime, especially in those days, when a black man achieves something, and they go for the ones who are doing well. And I always talk about Ida B. Wells and how she wrote about a black man who owned a grocery store, and that black man was lynched for no reason, um, because he was uppity and doing had money. So it's just the history has always been a part of me,
Mhm.
and I want to stand up for my ancestors who couldn't say nothing, who just had to take it. And slavery or Jim Crow had to put their head down, and they had to try to be invisible. The more you're not noticed, the you can survive. So just stay away from white people, stay out of their areas, don't let them see you, and you'll be fine. But if you happen to see a white person and you didn't follow the customs, you could be lynched. If you look a white man right in the eye, you could be lynched. They call it eyeballing. If you don't get off the sidewalk when white people on the sidewalk, you can be lynched. And those pro-Confederate people don't understand. I don't know why they don't understand why that's painful to us. And we're not erasing your history. We don't think it should be a public thing. It should not be a public spectacle. And we're tired of it. And with the Black Lives Matter movement, uh, there's a young man out here named Tyler Steele. He brought back the issue of removing a statue because I thought we had lost when they made the House Bill 77, and that bill pretty much said you couldn't remove a statue. But thanks to Tyler, he found a loophole, and that gave us some more grounding to or more standing to relocate the statue.
Mhm. You've listed a series of things that have happened over the course of your life, even before you were born, things that have gone on with your parents, your family, and yourself that contribute to how you feel about white supremacy. And you've talked a lot about your work as far as removing the statue. I read a Covington News article that was dated March 8th, 2019, where you were titled an activist and quite specifically an anti-statue activist. Do you consider yourself an activist? Most importantly, an anti-statue activist. Is that a correct term for you? Title for you?
I would say no, because I'm concerned about voting, uh, justice for all, and a way for every poor person to give them a way out. So the statue is one of those walls in the maze where we bump our head on, where we can look at that statue and know what it represents, and we can't do nothing about it. So that's just another thing as adults we do for the generations to come to say, hey, we stood up, continue to stand up. And that's what we got to do. And we got to do it differently from the 60s and 50s and 40s. People were forced together, forced in the same community, and forced into a impoverished situation. So today we got black people doing well, some are not doing well, and in the middle. But that's another reason, we're not as close as we were in the 60s and 50s and 40s. But we have technology, we have other things to learn, and ways to band together and start trusting each other again. Um, I like to see, as far as reparations go, investment in black business. And like I said, I would like to see our own steel mill. And I'm not saying just hire black people, but give give someone with the best business plan the shot to open a steel mill, a shot to open a car manufacturer, a shot to open a oil refinery. Give us some kind of economic base, because we gave y'all or gave America 400 years. And this is not a personal thing attacking one person, it's attacking the system. And the system, we gave that system 400 years, and they basically did not give us anything back. People starved after slavery, just told to go free, and had nowhere to go. They made laws for for people who wasn't employed. And if a white man can prove that you're not employed, you can be arrested. Then you back into a type of slavery situation, because now that white man can go to the jail and pay your fee, but you have to work for him to pay back that fee. And there's no paying back. It could be $5, like I said, and they can work 7, 8 years until they basically run away, like back in slavery. So history's been tough on us. It's time to reconcile our disparity over the years and make America better. And also, when we do that, when we open that mind up of the black kids, we may find some new uh, inventions and ways of doing things, because we have a different perspective. We see things from a different way. So when you shut us down, give us the worst schools, not enough books, the worst teachers, you're not you're not really trying to advance black people. You're just keeping them stagnant. And I like to see not just black people, anyone who's poor or disenfranchised. That's women, white poor people, gay, all the LGBTQ community, Hispanics. Everybody should have a chance and feel appreciative. I wrote one time that the only person who told me I was smart was my mother. So I never had a teacher when I was going through school tell me that I was smart, that I can achieve something. But I see them tell the white kid that all the time. So it beats you down.
So what's going on now with the removal of the Confederate statue on the Covington Square? Where is everything in the processing of as of today?
Well, right now there's an injunction. The board of commissioners voted to relocate it, and the Sons of Confederacy, and there's a lady, Heather or something. I don't really know her name, but she's saying relocating the statue will cause personal harm to her. So we got to get to the point where the judge who delayed the trial, he had an initial trial and told both lawyers they wasn't prepared. So 2 weeks from last Friday, I think should come up this Friday. We should see the final verdict of this injunction, where we can relocate the statue and we can move on to a better Newton County, a better Covington.
Well, it's been interesting speaking with you today, Gene, and understanding how long you have been working on the removal of the Confederate statue from the Covington Square, why you're doing it. It's also interesting to hear you say that this is not a black or white thing. It's interesting to hear you say that there are more issues that we have on the table. So I would really enjoy to speak with you again as things progress here in our county. Is there anything that I've missed? Anything that you would like to add to our conversation about the Confederate Monument or any other projects or initiatives that you're working on right now?
Um, I just just want to make it clear that I do not hate the people on the other side. I hate the system that oppressed me. I'm willing to talk to anyone and see what we have in common, and hopefully help them understand it's not about a certain person. It's not about me. It's about right and wrong. So um, I encourage the Confederate people to really look at history and tell us they agree that that statue should be relocated. And I also want to thank East Metro for social justice. They supported me, and I support them. And there's others that were even more passionate than me. It's weird to me that I get the attention because we had one guy, Teo Ramaker. He was the fireball, the pistol of our group. He gets so fired up. He's the one who will go to the library, then go home, and he would research. He has a whole book of information. He's a very powerful man, and he it was great working with him, and also with everyone in East Metro. It was very special to me. But the goal is to keep Newton blue, turn Georgia blue, and support Biden. That's it.
Thank you, Gene. I look forward to speaking with you again.
All right. Thank you for having me.